हेलो एंड वेलकम टू RCI's नवशिखर चैनल। एक बार फिर हम लौट आए हैं आपके सामने एक नए डिस्कशन के साथ और हमारे नए एक्सपर्ट के साथ। आज हम बात करने जा रहे हैं अर्ली इंटरवेंशन के बारे में, स्पेसिफिकली फॉर द पर्सन्स विद मेंटल रिटार्डेशन। और फॉर द पर्पस इन आवर स्टूडियोज वी हैव डॉक्टर उषा ग्रोवर, हु इज लेक्चरर इन स्पेशल एजुकेशन। हेलो मैम एंड वेलकम टू आवर स्टूडियो फॉर द डिस्कशन।
थैंक यू।
जैसा कि मैम हम अर्ली इंटरवेंशन के बारे में जानते हैं कि it should be started as early as possible. So just tell our viewers that what exactly early intervention is all about and which is the earliest stage at which it should be started.
ओके, थैंक यू स्तुति। तुमने बहुत अच्छी बात कही कि अर्ली इंटरवेंशन मतलब अर्ली इंटरवेंशन कब अर्ली। सो व्हाट इज अर्ली इंटरवेंशन? अर्ली मीन्स वेन एवर द प्रॉब्लम कैन अराइज. So, and we all know the life starts even at the stage of conception, at the time of conception. Life begins there. So, don't you think we have to take precautions at that time also so that there is no risk of getting a child with mental retardation? So, can we start with that level? Like when a mother or a woman is pregnant and she's carrying a child. So, what can affect which can make a child mentally handicapped? So let us first look at those reasons. So we'll start with the causes at prenatal, natal and postnatal period, and क्या बातें हैं जिसकी वजह से there could be a risk to the fetus, and what we can do about it, so that we can prevent mental retardation right from that time on. Okay, so we'll first talk about the what are the causes, what can cause mental retardation at the prenatal period, in the sense when a woman is carrying in the womb, when a mother is carrying a baby. So prenatal causes, what are the causes at prenatal? It could be, as you can see on the screen, it could be the age of the mother, general health of the mother, nutritional status, abortions, infections, diabetes, RH incompatibility, drugs, chemicals, poison, exposure to X-rays, alcohol and smoking, injury of any kind, and emotional trauma. Generally it is said that if the mother conceives before 18 and after 35, there's a more risk of having a child with disability and mental retardation. And also the general health of a mother. General health of the mother meaning if the woman is having blood pressure or diabetes or hypothyroidism or anemia, lack of iron in the. So all these things can affect the kind of developing fetus in a womb. So these are the things which we have to be careful about. Nutritional status, whether she's having adequate diet or not. Every form of diet, including the vitamins and minerals. Then abortions, if there is a threatened abortion, or like if you got it done through somebody
who's not trained,
and then it was a failure, and then if you have had abortions, like through somebody, so there could be a risk. Then infections, as I just said, if the mother is having if she has infections during this period, when she's carrying say for example herpes or measles or tuberculosis or whatever, which is the infections which are infectious. Diabetes, as I already said. RH incompatibility, we know there are blood groups A, B, O, and there is a O negative, RH negative and RH positive. So if the mother, if the pregnant woman is negative and the child is positive, then there's a risk of having a child with mental retardation, though there is no risk in the first pregnancy, but in the subsequent pregnancies there's a risk of having a child with mental retardation. But it can be controlled if at the birth of a first child, if the vaccine is given, then you can prevent mental retardation in the subsequent pregnancies. But then you should know, as we used to say that we wish to match horoscopes, whether they are matching or not. I think a female should know what is her RH group before conceiving. So
Yeah,
then
right,
drugs.
because I think most of the people, they don't know their own blood group.
Exactly. So
So-
very, very important. As I said, if they don't know,
Hmm.
then maybe the first pregnancy is okay, there's not much problem. But
Yeah.
the subsequent pregnancies, the problem
might
could
carry
come,
risk.
if this
Okay.
vaccine is not given within 24 hours of the time
All right.
of the delivery. Then, there's some chemicals, if she's taking, in any form, or some kind of poison or drugs, which she's taking with it, she's not supposed to take. Then exposure to X-rays in the, alcohol and smoking, uh, they can also affect the developing fetus. Injury, any kind of injury. She had a fall and she kind of, if there is, because of fall, the head gets damaged, the brain gets damaged, there could be a chances of having a child with mental retardation. Then emotional trauma, if the mother is under emotional stress throughout the time, then there could be chances of having premature birth, or child with low weight and all those things, which could in turn affect child having mental retardation. So these are some of the, in brief, I've told you the causes which could affect a child, at prenatal stage. I would say the womb at a prenatal stage. Now, what are the precautions? What are the intervention we are supposed to take? Intervention in terms of awareness. The female who's pregnant should be aware what are the precautions she should take, and we are emphasizing on those precautions, especially in villages and where people are not very educated. They should know what are the precautions they should take.
So you mean to say that if all these factors are taken care of, so the situation where a child is born with the disabilities, the chances are there the situation can be averted? I mean,
Prevented, yes. As we said, these are the preventable causes.
Okay.
So if you can take care of those, see, there are still many causes we don't know, but we know these causes. So
Yeah.
if precautions can be taken care of
The
these
chances are
causes,
there,
the
it can
chances
be
are that
prevented.
you can prevent children having mental retardation
Okay.
to a great extent. So that is why. The first is a regular health checkup, as you can see on the screen. A regular health checkup of the pregnant woman must be made by a qualified doctor. Now, what generally happens, they generally keep quiet till 3 months or 4 months. देखेंगे जब time आएगा तब चले जाएंगे. But some of the defects, which can happen, as I just said, can happen even at this stage. So which could be diagnosed, in the early
Stages.
Screening and all. So regular health checkup is a must. And that also by a qualified
person.
doctor, not like you can go to anybody. So it is a must. And the second is a balanced diet must be eaten by the pregnant woman, including green and maize, ragi, bajra, mixed cereals, beans, peas, milk and milk products, eggs, meat and chicken may be taken if the person likes and can afford. So you can see we have emphasized on the balanced diet. There should be proteins, there should be carbohydrate, there should be fats, amino acid, there should be vitamins and minerals, everything. And we have also included the low cost material, the cheap kind of food stuff, which is kind of good,
More affordable,
and which
yeah.
is good in protein and which is high in protein and vitamins and minerals. So that is what we are emphasizing on. And the third factor, as you can see on the screen, is we have already done that. The vaccination against tetanus, very, very important, must be taken by a pregnant woman. Your gynecologist will tell when it is to be taken. I think it's taken twice. So when is to be taken is a must to avoid any kind of problem with the growing fetus.
So it should be taken twice in the whole pregnancy period.
Yeah, that your
Gynecologist
will
will
tell. Yeah.
Okay.
And then prenatal, another thing is avoid carrying heavy loads. As I just said, avoid accidents. Avoid carrying heavy things, walking on slippery ground so that you don't have a fall, or climbing the trees, or climbing on the narrow stools, and ladders during pregnancy. So basically what we are saying, avoid accidents, avoid falls, so that in other words, avoid damage
Accidents,
to the
baby.
brain. Yeah. So because if it happens, then obviously if the brain is damaged, it can lead to mental retardation. So that is what we are trying to say. Even in villages, what happens, even if you're not carrying heavy buckets or things, but there is a tendency to carry their old children. Like if you have a child who is 4 or 5 years, the tendency is to carry the child. So even that could be avoided.
Okay.
That should be avoided, so that avoid carrying heavy stuff. So next is medicines. Medicines should be avoided, and if at all you are taking medicine, they should be avoided only at the advice of a medical practitioner or the gynecologist who is looking after you. So strictly, there is a kind of generally likelihood of having a medicine. If you're having headache, or if you're having a stomachache, or home remedies. Generally people will say take this, take that, but one should avoid, a pregnant woman should avoid taking these things unless it is prescribed by a doctor. So these are the few things a pregnant mother should be very careful when she is kind of carrying a child.
I think you very
stage.
well said, ma'am, that early intervention starts right from the stage where the child is in the womb, because usually, what we think is that early intervention starts when the child is detected with certain disability, and then we start with the procedure of
So
the
we are saying it
therapies
can
and
be
all.
detected even at that stage. There
Yeah.
are some tools which can, and we also know, there are some disabilities because of the chromosomal defects or the gene defects. So that could be easily,
Detected.
detected at this stage, and intervention can be given whatever is required at that time.
Okay.
Yeah.
मैं एक बार हमारे व्यूअर्स को याद दिला दूँ that if you have any queries or if you want to ask any question to our expert relating our topic today, then you can call us on our toll-free number, which is 1-800-11-20008. Our landline number is 265-11613 and our fax number is 265-11609. तो जैसा अभी आपने प्री नेटल कॉजेज के बारे में बताया मैम, एंड देन यू टोल्ड अबाउट द प्रिकॉशंस, दैट व्हाट प्रिकॉशंस कैन बी टेकन टू प्रिवेंट दिस सिचुएशन. नाउ व्हेन इट कम्स टू द सिचुएशन व्हेन the lady is passing through the natal period, or when the child is ready to come out.
Yeah.
So are there any causes at that time also? That
Exactly,
can cause
yes.
disability?
There are many causes which could lead to mental retardation. Let us talk about those. Now, as you can see on the screen, there are many causes which can lead to mental retardation if not taken care of. Prolonged labor, difficult delivery, dry labor, arrested labor, all these things are related to labor, and abnormal presentation, bleeding before delivery, cord around the neck, delayed birth cry, multiple or twins pregnancies, cesarean, forceps delivery, or injury of any kind. Like if the woman is in labor for more than 24 hours, and there are difficulty in labor, inducing labor and all that, that could lead to, there's a risk of having a child. And then if there is a, cord around the neck, and if there is a delayed birth cry, because all we know, so far the child was inside, he was breathing through the umbilical cord. But now he is going to be out, so he has to breathe on his own. So that means if he doesn't cry, the cry means that breathing, if he doesn't cry, that means the oxygen is not reaching to all parts of the body.
Right.
So there could be, if he doesn't cry, that means oxygen is not reaching to brain, and it could lead to brain damage and hence mental retardation. So very, very important. And even when the risk is more if there are more than one, like twin pregnancies or triplets, or the forceps, if the head is pressed too much, or if the head is pressed with some kind of a forceps, some kind of equipment, the kind of forceps.
Yeah.
So the head is pressed too much, with the result the brain gets damaged. So that also could lead. So what are the precautions we have to take at this time, so that we can prevent all those things and get a healthy child? The the mothers have to be very very careful that they should conduct delivery by a trained person in a proper hospital, and especially if it is a first pregnancy, one has to be very very careful that you go to a hospital where all the facilities are there, and if you require कोई भी किसी तरह की ज़रूरत पड़ जाए तो at least those facilities are there.
Available.
Yeah. और दूसरा ये क्या है कि in case the babies, they don't cry, I mean the baby doesn't cry immediately after the birth or turns blue, then immediately we have to give some kind of breathing, right, so that the oxygen reaches the brain immediately. तो ये बहुत ज़रूरी है और ये तभी होता है अगर हम we go to a proper hospital. But sometimes क्या होता है, in most of
rural
areas they get it done by somebody, midwife or a untrained aya, they say ये तो रोज की बात है, like we can do it, we all can do it, and the falana child was born by us, so why not this child? But the risk is always there, as I just said. If there are some of these problems, if there's a cord around the neck, as we just said, and the child doesn't cry as soon as he's born, then obviously there's a risk of having a child with mental retardation. And then we said if there are some abnormalities, like when the child is born, a big head or a small head, or the child is blue or the child is yellow, whatever, the doctors should be immediately consulted. So these are the precautions, I mean, one has to take. Kind of any abnormality, we have to kind of bring it to the notice of a doctor rather than waiting. So early intervention, as soon as you have found something abnormal. Now let us come to when the child
is already born.
So what are the precautions we should take? Now only if we know what can cause mental retardation, we'll be able to prevent it. So let us see what are the causes at a postnatal stage when the child is born. As you can see on the screen, color of the baby, infections, low birth weight, prematurity, injury or accident. Color of the baby, as I just said, if the child is yellow, sometimes
it's blue, sometimes
it's blue, that means the child there's a lack of oxygen in the child. If the child is blue, that could indicate jaundice. Most of the children do have a biological jaundice, but that is different than what I'm just talking about. Low birth rate, generally it is said 2.5 kg birth weight is slightly less. If it is less than that, then there are risk of
a child having mental retardation.
Right. And then premature children also have a risk of, then any injury, any fall, fall or somebody hitting on your head or some accident which could injure your brain, and brain get damaged because of that. There's a risk of getting mental retardation.
I think this is the reason why we always say that the head of the child, of the newborn baby, should be handled very carefully.
कई बार वो roll कर रहा है and वो गिर गया, and गिर गया और सर के बल गिर गया, तो ये सब चीज़ें. And then if the child is having a fever, infections, as I've just said, meningitis, encephalitis, जिसको हम कहते हैं, तो if this is not detected as early as possible and intervened as early as possible, there could be a risk of having mental retardation. So these are the few things which we have to keep in mind at prenatal, perinatal and postnatal time. If taken care of, to a great extent we can prevent mental retardation, because these are all preventable causes. Now let us talk about the precautions which we have to take at the postnatal period. As we just said, number one, that there are some diseases which can lead to mental retardation. Which can, so the child should be immunized by the immunization schedule given by a doctor. The child should be immunized against diphtheria, whooping cough, tetanus, polio, measles, mumps, rubella, tuberculosis and influenza according to the immunization schedule starting from birth. So what is the practice? Like you go to a doctor, pediatrician, and he will give you a schedule, like which injection to be given at what time, and it is our duty as a mother to get all those immunizations done on time. Second precaution is, as you can see on the screen, high fever, can damage the brain, and it should be controlled. It should be brought under control immediately. So uncover the child completely if the child is having high fever. Soak some pieces of cloth in cold water on the forehead, the body, arms, and legs. Fan the child and change the wet pieces frequently. Give the child plenty of water with sugar and jaggery to drink. Give medicines to reduce the fever on the advice of a doctor. Do not wrap the child in warm clothing or blankets. Generally we think fever है तो उसको
ब्लैंकेट
ब्लैंकेट में डाल दो, but that should not be done. बल्कि उसका फीवर कम करना है. ठंडे as we just said, टॉवल लेके उसको ठंडे पानी में निचोड़ के उसको सर पे रखना है.
आई थिंक मोस्ट ऑफ देम देयर ऑल द होम बेस्ड रेमेडीज हियर. जैसे ठंडे पानी की पट्टियां रखना या फिर
till you are taking him to the doctor. That is so that कहने का हम ये कह रहे हैं कि उसके जो फीवर बढ़ने नहीं देना है. कहने को ये कह रहे हैं because then it can affect the brain. और कई बार ऐसा होता है पता नहीं चलता है कौन सा बुखार है, एंसेफेलाइटिस है, just said, मेनिंजाइटिस है, तो उसका तो ट्रीटमेंट इमीडिएटली हो जाए तो बहुत अच्छी बात है, नहीं तो इट कैन लीड टू mental retardation. So these are another is that if the child develops fits, a doctor should be consulted. Uncontrolled fits also can lead to mental retardation. Drugs must be regularly given, so that fits are brought under control. तो कहने की बात ये है कि अगर बच्चे को फिट पड़ता है तो immediately it should be brought to the notice of doctor, and the treatment should be started, and it should not be stopped on your own in between. पूरी ट्रीटमेंट करनी होती है जैसे कि डॉक्टर बताते हैं, और have to be under control.
Yeah, and even the drug that they take and in what quantity it should be taken, it should always be consulted with the doctor.
With the doctor, yes. तो अपनी मर्जी से कुछ नहीं करना है, because जैसा कि मैंने कहा कि फिट्स होने से the brain can get damaged. Next, during epidemics like brain fever and cholera, contaminated food should be avoided. तो कहने का मतलब किसी भी तरह का जब एपिडेमिक हो जाता है या इन्फेक्शियस वो हो जाता है, तो हमें क्या करना चाहिए, हमें ध्यान रखना चाहिए कि वी शुड टेक ऑल द प्रिकॉशंस जिसकी वजह से हमको ये सब बीमारियां हो जाती हैं. जैसे अगर कॉलेरा हो गया है, ट्यूबरक्लोसिस हो गया है, तो ध्यान रखना पड़ेगा कि वाटर बॉर्न डिसीजेज है, तो हमको गंदा पानी ना पिए, कोई भी ऐसी चीज़ ना खाएं जिसमें कि हमें लगे कि गंदे पानी से बनी हुई होगी.
So that proper hygiene should be maintained.
Exactly. Okay. And next is, as you can see on the screen, head injury due to accidents can damage the brain. So any kind of head injury should be avoided. Accident should be avoided. Fall should be avoided. As I said, hitting by somebody on the head should be avoided. So ये सब चीजें जो हैं ये हमको avoid करनी चाहिए.
I think these are the very very basic things, when it comes to accidents or balanced diet लेना है and nutritional status का ध्यान रखना है. So these are all are the very very basic things that we all need to follow, whether it's in the prenatal stage, in the natal stage or in the postnatal stage.
और फायदा बहुत बड़ा है, छोटी छोटी बातें, but later उसमें क्या है, we are preventing mental retardation. So छोटी छोटी बातें हैं कि भाई एक्सरे अपनी मर्जी से नहीं कराओ, भाई मेडिसिन अपनी मर्जी से नहीं खाओ, प्रॉपरली अपना वो कराओ, पूरी मॉनिटरिंग बाय अ गायनेकोलॉजिस्ट व्हेन यू आर प्रेग्नेंट. बातें छोटी छोटी हैं, बट इट हैज़ अ लॉन्ग टर्म इम्पैक्ट, सो वन हैज़ टू बी वेरी वेरी केयरफुल. नाउ
मैम, बिफोर वी मूव ऑन फर्दर, या हम बाकी और फैक्टर्स की बात करें दैट कैन लीड टू मेंटल रिटार्डेशन, विल टेक अ शॉर्ट ब्रेक हियर एंड विल बी राइट बैक आफ्टर द ब्रेक.
The chief handicap of the blindness is not blindness, but the attitude of seeing people towards them. आइए जानने और समझने की कोशिश करते हैं कि बधिरांधता यानी डेफ ब्लाइंडनेस क्या है? बधिरांधता एक स्थिति है जिसमें दृष्टिहीनता एवं सुनने की शक्ति में कमी आती है तथा जिससे विचारों के आदान प्रदान और रोजमर्रा की आवश्यकताओं की पूर्ति में समस्या उत्पन्न होती है। बलराम एक 9 साल का बधिरांध बच्चा है। वो एक प्री मैच्योर बच्चा है जिसका शारीरिक विकास उसकी आयु के अनुरूप नहीं हुआ था। वो एक निम्न वर्गीय श्रेणी से संबंध रखता है तथा 5 साल से लगातार नेशनल एसोसिएशन फॉर ब्लाइंड दिल्ली के प्रशिक्षण कार्यक्रम से संलग्न है। इन 5 सालों के अंतर्गत उसे रोजमर्रा के कामों में, हलन चलन में, उसकी शैक्षणिक जरूरतों के अनुसार संप्रेषण द्वारा प्रशिक्षण दिया गया है जिससे वो इन सब क्रियाओं में स्वावलंबी बन सके। बलराम बिना किसी सहायता के चाकू से फलों को काट सकता है। उनके छिलकों को कूड़ेदान में डाल सकता है। अपने बर्तनों को खुद साफ कर सकता है। उन्हें सही जगह पर रख सकता है। सही बर्तनों का चयन करके खुद खाना खाता है। एवं पानी की बोतल निकालकर पानी भी पीता है। इन सभी क्रियाओं में वो टेक्चुअल साइन लैंग्वेज से निर्देशों को ग्रहण करता है और अपने भावों को व्यक्त करता है। टेलर फ्रेम और ब्रेलर द्वारा गणित, पठन लेखन में भी प्रशिक्षण प्राप्त कर रहा है। सभी बच्चों की तरह उसका भी एक मनपसंद खेल है। उसे सेल फोन को अपने कानों पर लगाकर उसका कंपन महसूस करना अच्छा लगता है। कहा जाता है, वॉकिंग विद अ फ्रेंड इन डार्क इज बेटर देन वॉकिंग अलोन इन लाइट। कहने का तात्पर्य है कि वो लॉन्ग केन ट्रेवल, टैक्टाइल पाथ, ट्रेलिंग और लैंडमार्क्स द्वारा हलन चलन में भी सक्षम है और व्यायाम संबंधी क्रियाएं जैसे ट्रेडमिल, स्टैटिक साइकिल का स्वचालन भी कर सकता है। कहा गया है, द बेस्ट एंड मोस्ट ब्यूटीफुल थिंग्स इन द वर्ल्ड कैन नॉट बी सीन और इवन टच्ड, दे मस्ट बी फेल्ट विद द हार्ट।
वेलकम बैक आफ्टर द ब्रेक। ब्रेक पे जाने से पहले हमें डॉक्टर ग्रोवर ने बताया कि अर्ली इंटरवेंशन का प्रोसेस जो है इट स्टार्ट्स राइट फ्रॉम द स्टेज ऑफ कंसेप्शन ऑफ द चाइल्ड इन द वूम। हमें डॉक्टर ग्रोवर ने बताया कि कौन कौन से ऐसे मेजर कॉजेज़ हैं जिनकी वजह से मेंटल रिटार्डेशन हो सकती है, जिसको हमने 3 सेक्शंस में डिवाइड किया था, विच इज़ प्री नेटल, दैट इज़ द पीरियड ऑफ द कंसेप्शन, नेटल दैट इज़ द पॉइंट ऑफ द टाइम ऑफ द डिलीवरी, एंड पोस्ट नेटल दैट इज़ आफ्टर द delivery has
Child
already
is born.
the child is born. So बहुत ही बेसिक फैक्टर्स थे. हालांकि हमारी एक्सपर्ट ने बिल्कुल ठीक कहा कि बहुत ही छोटी छोटी बातें हैं, लेकिन यदि इन छोटी छोटी बातों का ध्यान रखा जाए, सो अ चाइल्ड कैन बी प्रिवेंटेड फ्रॉम मेंटल रिटार्डेशन. जैसे कि न्यूट्रिशनल स्टेटस का ध्यान रखना, और अल्कोहल और स्मोकिंग से दूर रहना, या फिर बैलेंस डाइट लेना, एक्सीडेंट्स से अवॉइड करना, देन इन्फेक्शंस को रोकना. एंड एक बहुत अहम जो बात है दैट इज़ कि एक क्वालिफाइड डॉक्टर से डिलीवरी कराना, या फिर अगर किसी प्रकार का कोई इन्फेक्शन हो जाता है और ड्रग्स हैज़ टू बी स्टार्टेड, देन इट शुड ऑलवेज बी केप्ट इन माइंड दैट द ड्रग इज स्टार्टेड विद इन द प्रिस्क्राइब थिंग बाय अ प्रोफेशनल डॉक्टर, एंड दैट टू द क्वांटिटी शुड ऑलवेज बी केप्ट इन माइंड. उसके बाद हमें प्रिकॉशंस हमारे एक्सपर्ट ने बताया कि किस प्रकार हमें प्रिकॉशंस लेने हैं ताकि इन सब सिचुएशन से प्रिवेंट किया जा सके, एंड हेंस अ चाइल्ड इज born healthy and without any disabilities. So these were the factors that could may arise the situation where a child is born with the disabilities. Now ma'am, हो सकता है कि ये सब precautions are kept in mind and बहुत अच्छे से family members ने ध्यान रखा है कि इन सब factors का, but still a child is born with a disability. So what after that?
वेरी गुड क्वेश्चन स्तुति. और इससे पहले कि हम भी उसके बारे में बात करें कि यू वेरी राइटली सेड कि देर आर मेनी अदर कॉजेज विच आर अननोन, and despite all these precautions, child is born with disability. So then what is our role? Here comes the role of intervention. But intervention कैसी होगी जब तक कि हम उसको डिटेक्ट नहीं करेंगे, राइट? और मैंने अभी ये जो बातें कही वो इसलिए मैंने ये भी कहा, प्रिवेंशन की बात मैंने इसलिए भी कही क्योंकि you all know, or prevention and early detection, early intervention, they are very very important to to avoid having children with mental retardation. Why even our documents, PWD Act, the chapter on early intervention, prevention and early detection and intervention talks about that. And even this policy, the latest policy on the persons with disability policy, the special education policy for the persons with disability 2006 is also emphasizing on this a lot. Okay. Because what we feel, it's better to prevent than having a child with mental retardation and talk about the habilitation and rehabilitation services. So that is why I'm emphasizing a lot on that. So what I'm trying to emphasize is that just don't think about when the child is born, we will start thinking about his health and all. I'm emphasizing that right after the conception, right after the conception, when the woman comes to know she is pregnant, she should start taking care to avoid having children with disability, and in particular having a child with mental retardation. And that is why I mentioned all those causes which are preventable, and with a little bit of precautions and awareness you can prevent, you can have a child who's healthy.
And as we all know that prevention is always better
right
than cure.
Yeah. So but as you just said, now if after having all these precautions, I mean you have a child with mental retardation, what is our role now? How do we intervene then? So I would say that first intervention is, first of all, we should know how to detect. Sometimes we just say the child may have mental retardation, the child may have autism, the child may have hearing handicap, the child. So let's not
get into that confusion
yeah. And let us first detect the child. Now how do we detect? So as I just put it on the screen, despite all the precautions, it is observed that children are born with disabilities since many causes are still unknown. So what is our role then? Then our role is to early intervene. Yeah. Now why should we early intervene? That means what is the importance of early intervention? All of you know, but let us revise it. So because it is very very important. Why early intervention? Why? But it is sometimes seen, Stuti, even though we think there is some problem with the child, we like to be quiet, we like to wait on, we would like to believe in the policy of wait and see.
Okay.
But all I'm trying to say is intervene as early as possible. Why I'm saying that? Because there are certain reasons for it. So let us talk about the reasons first. Why early intervention? As you can see on the screen, growth and development is rapid in childhood. At that point, if the problem of a child is identified and attended to immediately, further damage can be arrested, right? Foundation for future education and overall personality development of the child is laid in the preschool years. Next, early identification and intervention reduces the occurrence of associated handicap. So the first point, as we are just saying, that you know, if you identify the child as early as possible, and you attend to it, you are preventing further damage. You know, because of this problem, there could be other problems.
Associated conditions also.
No, because of that particular problem, the child may get into other problem.
Okay, okay.
You know, say for example, if the child is unable to hear. Now, if we don't take care of that, the child will not even speak on time.
Right, right.
So that is what I'm trying to say. So you have to intervene at as early as possible. So don't wait कि अपने आप ठीक हो जाएगा, या let us wait for some more time. And then, as in the second point, as I just said, the foundation is laid in the early years of life, and the child is very well motivated at this age. So we have to be very, very careful at this age, and so that is why intervene as early as possible. And if we take care of the primary handicap, then obviously we are avoiding the associated handicap also. So that is why early intervention. Next, early intervention, identification and early intervention reduces the expenses, as it will arrest further damage. We have already spoken about it, because if we are avoiding secondary handicap, obviously we are reducing our cost of handling this child. Early identification followed by early counseling can help the parents to accept the child better and establish positive pattern of interaction among the family members. Now, if the child is identified early, then obviously you can counsel the parents as early as possible, so that they can accept the child as early as possible, so that whatever intervention is given has a very effective kind of impact on the child, because it is already done in stages. First identify,
Then
counsel the parents, make them accept, and then you intervene, so that parents also can take those intervention strategies and help the child to avoid further damage.
Ma'am, do you think कि mostly जो parents में देखा गया है that they usually don't accept that their child is born with certain disabilities.
Right.
So do you think that this withdrawal stage can delay the intervention process?
Well, that is also part of the intervention.
Okay.
Making the parents accept. ये कहना बड़ा आसान है कि पेरेंट्स एक्सेप्ट नहीं करते. It is very difficult, let's not talk about that, the continuum of reactions parents go through when they come to know the child is having a disability. They go through a continuum. First is denial and shock and whatnot, and then
They'll withdraw from the
search,
society.
the search information and all that. Then finally the stage of acceptance. But they have to reach to the stage of acceptance so that they can start with the habilitation and
Rehabilitation process.
services.
Yeah.
So this is very, very important. So intervention starts there. That's also part of the intervention, that you start counseling the parents as early as possible, so that you bring them to this stage of acceptance as early as possible. Okay. Next, early intervention will help in supporting the parents at the right time. It will help them learn proper handling and prevent development of negative attitudes toward the child. The whole family can be involved in the process of rehabilitation, as you just said. Now, if they accept the child, that acceptance will lead to positive attitude. So they will talk positive things about the child, and when the family is talking positive about the child, the neighbors will talk positive about the child, the community will talk positive about the child, and whatever intervention you are giving to the child will have positive effect. But if that doesn't start as early as possible, if they have a negative attitude, then you also have to work with their negative attitude, because
Absolutely.
and then the chain forms a negative attitude. So if
So
you
the
start
whole aura, around the child, it becomes negative ultimately.
so we don't have to do that. Early intervention means start with the positive attitude as early as possible, so that it spreads right from the beginning, and we don't have to work then on the negative attitude.
Okay.
It's very difficult to kind of set in the positive attitude by way of creating a positive image of our children, rather than people having negative attitude and then bringing them to, helping them to get into
the positive.
very difficult, Next, as you can see on the screen, the pattern, if a pattern or practice is set until older age and then professional help is sought, remediation becomes very, very difficult for the child, family and professional. So let us not lose the period when the child is ready to learn, when the child is maximum motivated to learn, when, as we said, this is the age where he is highly motivated, and even the learning becomes very fast. We all know that. So let us not waste that period, and that is why we say early. But if it is not detected at that time, if it is detected at the age of 12 years, that is early for that particular child.
Okay.
So early,
So it
when
varies.
when the
varies.
problem is detected,
All right.
right? So if you have detected the problem, whatever age, that is early.
So that point of time we'll consider as the point of early intervention.
Yeah. So whenever it is detected. Okay. And the last, why we do early intervention, the last point is, early identification followed by early intervention will give children a greater opportunity to realize the potential they have. Build a network of support system to strengthen the family to face the situation of having a child with mental retardation. So if we do identify the child as early as possible, and we start intervening at early stage, we will also identify the support, the support family needs to help this child. Support in the sense, what kind of support he needs to become independent as early as possible.
And this support system, I think society is also a part of this whole support system
because he has to
network.
live in society.
Yeah.
And eventually when he becomes old, he has to find work also in the society.
Right.
So society is very, very important, but it starts from the family. And in the family it starts from their attitude, and their attitude will be influenced depending upon how this problem was intervened and when it was intervened. Yeah?
Right,
So these are all connected.
मैं एक बार फिर हमारे व्यूअर्स को याद दिला दूं कि आप चाहें तो हमारे एक्सपर्ट से प्रश्न पूछ सकते हैं आज के इस टॉपिक से रिलेटेड. आप कॉल कर सकते हैं हमें हमारे टोल फ्री नंबर पे जो है 1800112008. हमारा लैंडलाइन नंबर है 26511613 और हमारा फैक्स नंबर है 26511609. तो जैसा कि हमारी एक्सपर्ट ने हमें बताया कि एक बार किसी भी बच्चे का अगर डिटेक्शन हो गया है, सो दैट इज़ द राइट एज at which the early intervention has to be started. And this early intervention process does not necessarily involve different kind of the therapies or the education that we provide. Instead, it involves all those factors that are related to the child, whether it's the counseling of the parents, whether it's the counseling of the whole family support system. So instead of wasting this crucial period of time where the child is, maximum motivated, and as we say that in the early years of the life, the whole foundation is based. The whole foundation is laid.
And the growth is faster.
Exactly.
The child learns very fast.
Yeah.
And parents are motivated, children are motivated. So why not use this time?
Exactly.
Yeah. And I'm not saying it. Even we have researches which indicate that this is true. As you can see on the screen, the research suggests the program of stimulation to infant with handicap can accelerate the growth of development, right? So the early stimulation program can accelerate the growth and development of the child. The researchers have shown that. The researchers reveal that information to us. And therefore, in recent years, there has been a much stress on early intervention of children who are at risk through infant and preschool programs, right? So now we can go on to early intervention techniques. Now, how do we early intervene? Only when we detect the child at early. So we should also know how to detect a child with mental retardation at the earliest.
Okay.
Now there are some indicators which can help us to kind of that there could be that we can suspect mental retardation. Let us talk about those indicators. Now, how to identify a child with mental retardation? Okay, stage 1 is from 1st to 3 months. As you can see on the screen, from age 1 to 3 months, the child respond to sounds and voice. So, but if your child is not doing that till the end of the 3rd month or 4th month, then there could be, you can suspect mental retardation. Okay, now next stage is age 1 to 4th month. Development is smiles at others. During this period a child starts smiling at others. We start giving social smile. वो पहले वाली physiological smile नहीं, looking at you he smiles.
So he's now expressing,
Smiles.
maybe
Yeah, he is kind of
interacting through his smile,
exactly,
with other
and
people.
responding to you. So if it doesn't happen till the end of the 4th month, then
There might be some difficulty.
yeah, you can suspect. I'm not saying there is. You can suspect. That means you should be a little more alert. Okay. Then 2 to 6 months, generally the child holds his head steady. Now these days, the child holds his head even by 3 months. So I mean, children are very clever. So, but these are the milestones which have been given to us. And but even by 6 months, if the child is having difficulty in erecting his head, then there could be a problem. Then 2 to 6 months, the child sits also without support. If the child is not sitting without support by 6 months or 7 months, then again you have to think why. Then 9 to 14 months, the child stands without support, by 14 months. If he doesn't, you can see on the screen. See, so we should know about these milestones, these indicators.
Exactly.
We should have the knowledge. It's not that कि नहीं ठीक है, नहीं कहा, अभी तो 1 साल ही हुआ है, अभी तो 1.5 साल ही हुआ है, let me wait. I mean, you can wait, but you have to show it to a specialist to find out that everything is fine. So there's nothing wrong. Okay. Then 10 to 20 months, the child generally starts walking independently. But if the child has not started walking by that time, then there could be something wrong. The child starts talking in 2 to 3 word sentences by 16 to 30 months. Okay, so if he's not, like, he can say, give me water, ma water, like to bahar jana, like that, pani pina, like that. So, but if he's not doing that, that means there could be something wrong. Similarly 2 to 3 years, कहने का मतलब ये है, ये नहीं कि बच्चा जब स्कूल जाएगा तभी आपको पता चलेगा कि बच्चे को मानसिक मंदता है कि नहीं. इस टाइम पे भी, शुरू में ही, अर्ली में भी आपको इस स्टेज में भी पता चल जाएगा, क्योंकि हर स्टेज में, पहले मंथ में भी कुछ इंडिकेटर्स हैं, कुछ सालों में भी हैं, मंथ्स में भी हैं. तो अगर बच्चा इस पीरियड तक नहीं कर पा रहा, तो देन यू हैव टू बी ऑन योर गार्ड्स. ओके. देन अगर बच्चा अपने आप 3 साल तक नहीं खा रहा, देन अगेन देयर कुड बी सम प्रॉब्लम विद द चाइल्ड. अपना नाम नहीं बता रहा 3 साल तक, अगर आप पूछते हो आपका नाम क्या है, और अगर वो नहीं बता पाता, तो ये सब कुछ इंडिकेटर्स मैंने दिए हैं. बच्चे को अगर टॉयलेट कंट्रोल नहीं है 4 साल तक, अगर वो नहीं कर पा रहा है, 3 से 4 साल तक वो कर लेना चाहिए उसको. पर अगर 4 साल तक भी अपना वो टॉयलेट कंट्रोल नहीं करता है, ही डर्टीज हिमसेल्फ, ही कांट इंडिकेट हिज नीड, और वो कहीं भी कर देता है, किसी टाइम भी कर देता है, तो आपको तो थोड़ा सा चिंता होनी चाहिए. राइट. सो ये सब जो है, ये हमने आपको स्क्रीनिंग शेड्यूल, जैसे मैंने अभी आपको स्टेजेस बताई विद ऑल दोस फिगर्स, कि ताकि आपको याद रहे. तो ये चार्ट है हमारे पास, जो कि NIMH का एक स्क्रीनिंग शेड्यूल भी हम कहते हैं, बिलो 3 years. तो ये सब चीज़ें हमें जो है ध्यान में रखनी चाहिए. जैसा कि मैंने आपको दिख रहा है सामने, कि रिस्पॉन्ड टू साउंड एंड वॉइस बाय 1 to 3 months में हो जाता है. पर अगर 4 मंथ तक नहीं हुआ देन यू थिंक यू हैव टू थिंक. सेकेंड, स्माइल एट अदर्स 2 to 4 मंथ्स में हो जाता है, पर अगर 6 मंथ तक नहीं हुआ देन यू रियली हैव टू बी ऑन योर गार्ड्स. यू हैव टू टेक हेल्प ऑफ अ प्रोफेशनल. होल्डिंग हेड स्टेडी, generally it happens by 2 to 6 months. If it doesn't happen by 6 months, again you have to consult a expert or a doctor or whosoever, a rehabilitation professional. If the child is not sitting without support by 5th to 10th month, I mean he does that basically by 10th month, 5th to 10th month, but if he doesn't do that by 18th month, 18 महीने तक अगर वो नहीं करता है, मतलब 1.5 साल तक अगर वो नहीं बैठ रहा है, तो आपको
डॉक्टर के पास
जाना चाहिए. राइट. वॉकिंग वेल, मतलब अपने आप बिना सपोर्ट के अगर वो 10 से 20 महीने तक, उसको कहने का मतलब क्या है कि 1 साल 8 महीने तक वॉक हो जाना.
1.5 साल.
राइट. पर हमने तो आजकल देखा है कि बच्चे 1 साल पार करते ही चलना शुरू कर देते हैं. राइट. पर अगर फिर भी 20 महीने तक नहीं चल रहा तो फिर आपको जाना ही पड़ेगा. कई बार बच्चा वीक होता है, ये होता है, तो देयर कुड बी मेनी अदर रीजंस आल्सो. ये नहीं है कि मानसिक मंदता है या इसीलिए. पर अगर 18 महीने तक नहीं हुआ तब आपको चुप नहीं रहना है. यू हैव टू इंटरवीन. दैट मीन्स यू हैव टू गो टू अ rehabilitation center. You have to go to a service center where they will give some services for making him sit, making him walk, making him yeah. So, और अगर बच्चा जनरली ही टॉक्स इन 2 to 3 word sentences by 16 to 30 months. कहने का मतलब क्या है, 2.5 साल तक उसको जो है वो कर लेता है ये. पर अगर 3 साल तक उसने नहीं करा तो देन आपको ध्यान रखना पड़ेगा. ठीक है. इसी तरह ईटिंग, टेलिंग हिज नेम, टॉयलेट कंट्रोल, ये सब अगर नहीं हुआ 4 साल तक तो आपको जो है देखना पड़ेगा. राइट. तो आपको यू हैव टू कंसल्ट अ डॉक्टर. देन इसी तरह से 3 से 6 साल तक अगर बच्चा जो है ये सब क्वेश्चंस आपको पूछने हैं बच्चे के लिए, और अगर आपका आंसर जो है यस आता है, राइट, तो आपको जो है एक प्रोफेशनल की हेल्प लेनी बहुत ज़रूरी है. इसी तरह अगर बच्चे बड़े हो गए हैं 6 साल के बाद, तब भी ये सवाल आपको पूछने पड़ेंगे. और अगर आपका बच्चा सब उसके जवाब नहीं देता, मतलब किसी भी सवाल का जवाब यस है, तो आपको यू हैव टू बी ऑन योर गार्ड्स. यू हैव टू फाइंड अ प्रोफेशनल टू टेक हिज हेल्प. ओके. इसी तरह 7 जो प्लस है ये वाले सवाल पूछे जाएंगे. ओके.
So it's beginning right from months till years it's going.
Exactly. कहने का मतलब ये नहीं कि जब बच्चा 3 साल का हो जाएगा तब मैं देखूंगा. राइट फ्रॉम द चाइल्ड इज बॉर्न, पहले महीने में ही अगर वो आपको स्माइल नहीं दे रहा है, और बच्चे तो दे रहे हैं, so there's a deviation.
Right.
तो अगर 6 महीने तक नहीं दे रहा है, then head direct नहीं कर रहा है, तो you have to be on your guards. Right? और अगर आपको जो है किसी भी तरह का यू आर सस्पेक्टिंग एनी काइंड ऑफ डाउट यू हैव, यू शुड इमीडिएटली रेफर a child either to a service center or any primary health center or rehabilitation center, child guidance clinic or early intervention clinic, or a special school or a home based program, wherever you find your way.
इससे पहले मैम इन मॉडल्स ऑफ सर्विसेज को हम डिटेल में एक बार डिस्कस करें. यहाँ पे लेंगे हम एक छोटा सा ब्रेक एंड विल बी राइट बैक आफ्टर दिस ब्रेक.
This is Aparna. She loves chess and Shah Rukh Khan. Her best friend is Swati. She also has visual impairment. This is Neeraj. He plays many instruments. He loves Mohammad Rafi and cricket. He also uses crutches for mobility.
चंदा है तू मेरा सूरज है तू
This is Raj Bala.
मेरी आँखों का तारा है तू जीती हूँ मैं बस तुझे देख कर
With her husband and daughter. She loves cooking and watching TV.
सूरज है तू मेरी आँखों का तारा है तू
She also has cerebral palsy. Look beyond the disability. Look at the person.
The state of knowledge exists. The will, the capacity, and method are usually the problem. मानसिक मंदता एक ऐसी विकलांगता है जो 18 वर्ष की आयु से पूर्व कभी भी हो सकती है, जिसमें व्यवहार अनुकूलता में कमी एवं बुद्धि क्षमता 70% से कम होती है। Alone we can do so little. Together we can do so much. भारतीय पुनर्वास परिषद द्वारा देश भर में पंजीकृत केंद्र इस बात को प्रमाणित करते हैं। NIMH प्रादेशिक केंद्र नई दिल्ली एक ऐसा ही केंद्र है जहां छात्रों को प्रशिक्षण दिया जाता है। जिसके उपरांत वे मंदबुद्धि बच्चों की सेवा में नियुक्त होते हैं। क्लासरूम टीचिंग, ग्रुप टीचिंग एवं भारतीय पुनर्वास परिषद के नव शिखर चैनल पर प्रसारित टेलीकॉन्फ्रेंसेस द्वारा संबंधित विषयों पर विस्तार पूर्वक ज्ञान दिया जाता है। मेडिकल, ऑक्यूपेशनल थेरेपी, फिजियोथेरेपी, स्पीच थेरेपी, साइकोलॉजी और स्पेशल एजुकेशन जैसे क्षेत्रों में छात्रों को प्रशिक्षित किया जाता है। प्रयोगात्मक अनुभव एवं अभ्यास के लिए टीचर ट्रेनिंग प्रोग्राम के उपरांत छात्रों को मंदबुद्धि बच्चों के साथ कक्षाओं में नियुक्त किया जाता है और इंडिविजुअलाइज्ड एजुकेशन प्लान का भी आधार बनाया जाता है, जिससे वे संपूर्ण शिक्षा एवं चिकित्सा शैली को समझ सकें। इस पूरे प्रशिक्षण कार्यक्रम के दौरान विद्यार्थी जर्नल्स, न्यूज़लेटर्स, पेरियोडिकल्स, चार्ट्स, मॉडल्स, कंप्यूटर ट्रेनिंग एवं टेक्स्ट बुक्स का उपयोग कर सकते हैं। कहते हैं, कीप योर फेस टू द सनशाइन एंड यू कैन नॉट सी द शैडो। इसी बात को ध्यान में रखते हुए विद्यार्थियों को सरकारी एवं गैर सरकारी संस्थाओं में नियुक्त किया जाता है, जहां वे मंदबुद्धि बच्चों के लिए निरीक्षण, प्रशिक्षण एवं अनुसंधान का दायित्व संभालते हैं और इसके पश्चात ये विद्यार्थी इस प्रशिक्षण का उपयोग मंदबुद्धि बच्चों के सामाजिक एवं शैक्षणिक उत्थान एवं विकास में करते हैं और एक लक्ष्य की ओर आगे बढ़ते हैं। और फिर लक्ष्य कितना ही दूर हो, फासला नजरों का धोखा भी तो हो सकता है। वो मिले या ना मिले, हाथ बढ़ाकर देखो।
अपनी शक्ल तो देख ही नहीं पाते।
वेलकम बैक आफ्टर द ब्रेक। ब्रेक पे जाने से पहले हम बात कर रहे थे बेसिक माइलस्टोन्स की, कि क्या क्या एक नॉर्मल बच्चे में डेवलपमेंट होती है। डिफरेंट स्टेजेस की हमने बात की, किस प्रकार बच्चा नेक होल्ड करना सीखता है, स्माइल देता है, एक जनरल स्टैंड करता है, देन सिटिंग विदाउट सपोर्ट, स्टैंडिंग विदाउट एनी सपोर्ट, वॉकिंग एंड सो ऑन। सो दीज आर द बेसिक माइलस्टोन्स दैट वन शुड ऑब्जर्व इन हिज और हर ओन चाइल्ड, एंड if these milestones are not achieved at the right point of time, then there's definitely a matter of concern, and it should be taken to the rehabilitation centers or the service centers. So इन सब छोटे छोटे milestones को ignore नहीं करना है, और ध्यान रखना है कि बच्चे में ये सब milestones achieve हो गए हैं right point of time पे। तो मैम, अब तक हमने बात की कि कौन कौन से बेसिक माइलस्टोन्स होते हैं। अब जब पेरेंट्स जो है वो अपने बच्चे को लेके पहुंच गए अर्ली इंटरवेंशन सेंटर पे, सो व्हाट्स द प्रोसीजर आफ्टर दैट?
अब जब पेरेंट्स पहुंच जाते हैं हमारे सेंटर्स पे, या तो वो हमारे सेंटर्स पे आएंगे, जिसको हम कहते हैं चाइल्ड गाइडेंस क्लिनिक, या स्पेशल स्कूल्स में आएंगे, या वो हमारे अर्ली इंटरवेंशन सेंटर्स में आएंगे, कहीं पे भी जाए। तो अर्ली इंटरवेंशन, अब जैसे कि मैंने बताया कि जो भी प्रॉब्लम बच्चे को हो रही है, मान लीजिए अभी बच्चा 3 महीने का है और अपना 4 महीने का या 6 महीने का है, पर अपना सर अभी भी
नेक होल्ड
नहीं कर पा रहा है, तो अर्ली इंटरवेंशन विल रिक्वायर टू गिव दोज एक्सरसाइजेस एंड द एक्टिविटीज इन विच ही लर्न्स टू कंट्रोल हिज नेक। तो वो कैसे देंगे, दैट इज पार्ट ऑफ द अर्ली इंटरवेंशन। तो अब वो सब डिपेंड करता है कि आप बच्चे को किस स्किल में किस उसमें स्किल में उसको मतलब उसको मास्टर करवाना चाहते हो, क्या उसमें वो लैक कर रहा है, क्या उसका किस में लैक कर रहा है, और उसको किस तरह की ट्रेनिंग देनी है। तो वो हमें कैसे चलता है, इट इज ऑल मेथोडिकल राइट फ्रॉम द डे वन। अब ये नहीं कि मैं अपनी तरफ से देखूं इसका चलो हेड कंट्रोल नहीं है तो चलो मैं हेड कंट्रोल में ट्रेनिंग दे दूं, या इसको ये जो है बैठ नहीं पा रहा तो मैं बैठने में दे दूं। आई विल फर्स्ट असेस हिम, आई मीनिंग एनीबडी whosoever this child has gone, they will assess, and we have certain standardized tools which we use for early intervention, मतलब when the child before the child goes to a school। तो पोटेज एक बड़े अच्छा हमारे पास टूल है जो हम फॉलो करते हैं। देन नाउ डेज वी हैव आरंभ ऑल्सो, जो हम प्री स्कूलर्स के लिए यूज़ करते हैं, जो स्पेशली वो जो एक रेगुलर स्कूल में, क्योंकि अब आपको पता है कि UNCRPD की रिक्वायरमेंट है कि सारे इंक्लूसिव सेटअप्स हों और सारे बच्चे जो है इंक्लूसिव स्कूल्स में जाएं। तो उसके लिए एक आरंभ भी हमने जो NMH ने एक बनाया है किट, जिसके अंतर्गत और बच्चों के साथ इंक्लूसिव सेटअप में जो है इन बच्चों को कैसे आइडेंटिफाई करना है और कैसे इंटरवीन करना है, उसके बारे में बताया हुआ है। तो मतलब रेडी गाइडलाइंस, रेडी रेकनर फॉर द टीचर्स, कि उनको बताया गया है कि अगर आपकी क्लास में ये बच्चा है जिसको सुन नहीं रहा है तो उसके लिए आप क्या करोगे। तो दीज आर ऑल अर्ली इंटरवेंशन स्ट्रैटेजीज which we have used.
And I think जिस स्केल का भी आपने मेंशन किया, I think one of its advantages is that even the regular teacher can also use that.
आरंभ, yes, वही मैंने कहा इंक्लूसिव सेटअप के लिए ही बना है,
exactly.
प्री स्कूलर्स के लिए, राइट। ताकि जैसा कि हम कह रहे हैं कि अगर ये बच्चे शुरू से ही नॉर्मल स्कूल में जाएंगे तो इंक्लूजन उन लोगों का ज़्यादा आसान हो जाएगा, जैसे हम अब फेस कर रहे हैं प्रॉब्लम्स, क्योंकि अब हम ऐड ऑन कर रहे हैं। पर अगर बच्चा शुरू से ही प्री स्कूल से ही जा रहा है और बच्चों के साथ, तो इंक्लूजन विल बी मच फास्टर, मच मोर इफेक्टिव, और वो सब प्रॉब्लम्स नहीं आएंगी जो हमें अब आजकल आ रही हैं। तो कहने का मतलब ये है कि जब अर्ली इंटरवेंशन का मतलब ये है कि जहाँ पे भी आपको प्रॉब्लम आई, ऑन द बेसिस ऑफ व्हाट वी हैव जस्ट सेड, कि अगर 6 महीने का बच्चा है और अभी तक वो बैठ नहीं, 8 महीने का बच्चा है बैठ नहीं रहा, 6 महीने तक नहीं बैठा, आपने 8 महीने तक देखा नहीं बैठा, तो अब उसको बिठाने की स्ट्रैटेजीज या एक्टिविटीज़ प्लान की जाएंगी जिससे कि वो बैठना सीख जाए। इसी तरह अगर आपके पास 4 साल का बच्चा आ रहा है, 50 साल का बच्चा जो है अभी तक टॉयलेट कंट्रोल नहीं है उसको, या उसको बोलना नहीं आ रहा, तो हम प्रोग्राम क्या बनाएंगे, प्रोग्राम वही बनाएंगे जो मैंने पहले आपको बताया गया है कि प्रोग्राम हम कैसे बनाते हैं, IEP हम कैसे बनाते हैं। यहाँ पे सिर्फ फर्क ये है कि बच्चा अभी छोटा है, स्कूल गोइंग नहीं है, राइट। तो हम कहने का मतलब सबसे पहले हम बच्चे की असेसमेंट करेंगे। अगर बच्चा छोटा है, जिस उम्र का है, उस हिसाब से हम टूल इस्तेमाल करेंगे, असेसमेंट टूल, और उसके हिसाब से, असेसमेंट के हिसाब से हम बच्चे का प्लान बनाएंगे और उस प्लान में वो सारी स्किल्स लेंगे जिसमें कि बच्चा पीछे है, जो अभी तक उसकी डेवलप नहीं हुई है, जो कि हो जानी चाहिए थी इस उम्र तक, वो वाली स्किल लेंगे और फिर उसके प्लान मतलब प्रोसीजर डेवलप करेंगे और उसके बाद उसको इम्प्लीमेंट करेंगे कि फिर हम देखेंगे कुछ महीनों बाद कि बच्चा जो है इवैल्यूएट करेंगे कि बच्चे ने कुछ प्रोग्रेस हुई है, अचीव करा है कि नहीं करा है। तो फिर तो वही वाली स्ट्रैटेजीज जो मैंने पहले भी स्ट्रैटेजीज के ऊपर कॉन्फ्रेंस की हुई है और मैंने असेसमेंट टूल्स के ऊपर भी कॉन्फ्रेंस की हुई है, पर यहाँ पे हम जोर ये दे रहे हैं कि वो सब स्ट्रैटेजीज का इस्तेमाल अर्ली करना है जब बच्चे की प्रॉब्लम डिटेक्ट हो गई। तो कहने का मतलब ये है कि हमें अर्ली डिटेक्ट करने के तरीके आने चाहिए। जैसा कि मैंने अभी आपको 3 ये क्वेश्चनर्स बताए और एनएमएच के ये स्टैंडर्डाइज्ड हमने क्वेश्चनर बनाए हैं कि कोई भी ये सवाल अगर जो बच्चे 0 से 3 तक के हैं वो सवाल पूछ ले तो उसको पता चल जाएगा कि बच्चे को क्या मानसिक मंदता है कि नहीं। अगर 3 से 6 साल का बच्चा है और उससे वो सवाल पूछ ले जो मैंने अभी बताया आपको, और वो सवाल पूछ के अगर उनके सवालों के जवाब, एक भी जवाब का जो सवाल का आंसर यस है, तो वो हो सकता है बच्चा रिटार्डेड है। तो फिर उसको इन क्लिनिक्स में भेजना चाहिए जो मैंने अभी आपको बताया। और अगर बच्चा 6 साल से ज्यादा है तो जो मैंने तालिका अभी दिखाई 7 साल और 7 साल से अबव वाले बच्चों की, दिखाऊं फिर से एक बार ये वाली, सॉरी,
आई थिंक यही इसकी जो बिगेस्ट एडवांटेज है इस शेड्यूल की, दैट इज के फ्रॉम द 0 months इट्स स्टार्टिंग एंटिल द एज ऑफ 7 years इट्स गोइंग ऑन।
एग्जैक्टली exactly,
and it's I think it's very comprehensive. I mean the simple yes and no is given. There's it's not very complex कि उसको assess करने में परेशानी आए किसी भी प्रोफेशनल।
पर ये सिर्फ हमको ये बताएगा कि क्या सस्पेक्ट कर रहे हो कि नहीं,
राइट,
हाँ या ना पक्का तभी बताएगा जब आप उसकी पूरी असेसमेंट करोगे। पर एटलीस्ट स्क्रीनिंग आपको पता चल गई कि बच्चा हो सकता है बच्चे को मानसिक मंदता हो, और अगर ऐसी बात है तो हम उनको कहाँ भेजेंगे, इंटरवेंशन स्टार्स या ना, तो हम उनको यहाँ भेजेंगे। चाहे आप प्राइमरी हेल्थ सेंटर में भेजो एज यू कैन सी ऑन द स्क्रीन, चाहे आप उसको चाइल्ड गाइडेंस क्लिनिक में भेजो, चाहे आप उसको अर्ली इंटरवेंशन क्लिनिक में भेजो, चाहे आप उसको नॉर्मल स्कूल में भेजो जहाँ पे रिसोर्स टीचर्स हैं, जो कि अब ये कॉन्सेप्ट बहुत ही जोर शोर से लागू हो रहा है, और चाहे आप उसको नॉर्मल स्कूल है जहाँ पे स्पेशल क्लासेस है वहाँ भेजो, जहाँ पे भी सर्विसेज अवेलेबल है इन बच्चों के लिए, चाहे आप स्पेशल स्कूल में भेजो, चाहे आप होम बेस्ड प्रोग्राम्स में भेजो, तो वहाँ पे इनका पूर्ण तय असेसमेंट होगा ये पता लगाने के लिए कि वेयर एग्जैक्टली व्हाट एग्जैक्टली इंटरवेंशन द चाइल्ड नीड्स एट दिस पॉइंट ऑफ टाइम।
जैसे आपने इन सेंटर्स का यहाँ पे मेंशन किया डॉक्टर ग्रोवर, तो इन सेंटर्स पे आई एम श्योर देयर मस्ट बी अ होल टीम ऑफ प्रोफेशनल्स यू नो दैट विल वर्क ऑन द अर्ली इंटरवेंशन। वेरी राइटली यू सेड दैट कि एक बंदा नहीं है जो इस बच्चे के साथ काम करेगा। जैसा कि आपको सबको पता है, हमने बड़ी बारी बताया है कि बच्चे को एक प्रॉब्लम के साथ साथ और बड़ी सारी प्रॉब्लम्स होती हैं, जैसा कि हो सकता है बच्चे को कोई फिजिकल प्रॉब्लम भी हो सकता है बच्चे को कोई मेडिकल प्रॉब्लम भी हो सकता है बच्चे को कोई जैसे मैंने बताया बच्चे को बैठने की प्रॉब्लम है। शुरू में तो देखा जाए तो थेरेपीज की बहुत ही बड़ी इन्वॉल्वमेंट है कि अगर बच्चे को बैठने में प्रॉब्लम है, खड़े होने में प्रॉब्लम है, या चलने में प्रॉब्लम है, तो बहुत सारे जो है थेरेपीज, चाहे वो ओटी हो, पीटी हो, महत्वपूर्ण रोल है। इसी तरह स्पीच थेरेपिस्ट। तो कहने का मतलब आपने बहुत अच्छी बात कही कि इवन एट अर्ली इंटरवेंशन ऑल द प्रोफेशनल्स आर रिक्वायर्ड टू हेल्प द चाइल्ड। And even I think social worker also plays a major role.
Major role, as we just discussed, working with the families. If you don't work with the families simultaneously, I'm saying families, I'm not just saying parents. So if you don't work with the families, including the parents, and as we just said, counsel them, make them accept the child, make them, realize or convince them that these services are required by the child and they will help the child in long run. So who will do this? A social worker. So the role of all the professionals is equally important, as I just said.
मैम मैं ये एक बात प्रश्न पूछना चाहूँगी कि हम प्रेजेंट जो लेवल है फंक्शनिंग का बच्चे का, हम उस पर कई बार काफ़ी ज़्यादा एम्फोसिस देते हैं. सो यू नो एवरी चाइल्ड हैज़ डिफरेंट प्रेजेंट लेवल ऑफ फंक्शनिंग. सो यू थिंक दैट this present level of functioning of respective child, it also has an important role in the early intervention process? I mean, the way he'll develop with the help of the therapies or exercises.
You mean the present level?
Yeah.
Okay, just say that again.
जो एक प्रेजेंट लेवल है, सपोज बच्चा नेक होल्ड नहीं करता, लेकिन दूसरा बच्चा हो सकता है नेक होल्ड कर रहा है बट उसमें कोई और समस्या है.
Oh yeah. So that is why we do the assessment.
Okay.
Right? कि अगर वो हेड तो कंट्रोल कर रहा है बट मे बी his one hand is not working properly, or he's not looking at you, he's not moving his eyes, or maybe when you're showing some sounds, doing kind of
maybe rattle or
producing some
something,
sounds,
yeah.
and he's not responding. So, and it could be anything.
Okay.
Yeah.
So it varies from child to child, right?
Obviously.
Okay.
Each child is unique. So that is how we will come to know where exactly is the problem. Is it the tracking of the sound? Is it the tracking of the eyes, or is it his hand movements, or is it what? And that is why, to help you do that, what is it? We have this opinion with us. We have a portage with us. We have other tools with us at early age. But when the child grows, like from 6 onwards, we have other tools, as we have talked about that at length, basic MR or MDPS and other tools.
ओके. सोसाइटी का या कम्युनिटी का क्या रोल है मैम अर्ली आइडेंटिफिकेशन में? अब तक जैसे हमने फैमिली की बात की, दैट दे शुड ऑलवेज बी मोटिवेटेड. सो व्हाट रोल इज सोसाइटी प्लेइंग इन ऑल दैट?
What should be their role? I would say that they also play equal role. अगर उनको कहीं पे पता चलता है, like in my community, if I see somebody who is little deviant, who is kind of like not behaving the way other children are behaving, it is a person's responsibility in the society to take him or to refer him to the right place. So if they can do this much, we are not saying that they should intervene, detect, or do whatever. If they can just refer a child to the right place, I think they have done their job. And so that means they are sensitive. If we have a sensitive society like this, and if at very early age these children are directed to the place where they should be by the society, in other words, if our society is aware and it is sensitive, they will do this kind of a job, and then our children can be habilitated very effectively without losing the precious time which they could have if they were not brought to the notice of the people. Sometimes you and I feel that there is something wrong with the child, but we say it's not my responsibility. But it is our responsibility, being in the community, being in the society. Maybe parents are not doing it because of many reasons, economic reasons, social reasons, and so many other reasons. But if we get together, and make them feel that it's our society, and we accept the diversities, even in disabilities. We accept the diversities in any case, and that is how we are one. That's the beauty about our nation. But even if we start accepting the diversities in disability, like एक disabled बच्चा ऐसा है जो बोल नहीं पाएगा, एक disabled बच्चा ऐसा है जो बोल पाएगा बट कुछ चल नहीं पाएगा ठीक से, एक disabled बच्चा ऐसा है जो शायद आपको अपनी बात ठीक से कह नहीं पाएगा. If we accept all those differences, I think we can really bring out a wonderful.
And that's what inclusion is all about in
Right.
kids' life.
And I mean, we can make this place a wonderful for everyone. We don't, at this age, we don't want to have any kind of distinction, disabled and non-disabled. No, it's
equal.
all.
It's all right.
The time will come, I'm sure the time will come when we'll talk about children. It's a place for children. It's a school for children. We will not talk about it. We have to talk about disability right now because we are adding this component to the existing
Existing world, maybe.
existing world, so whether it's a school or it's community center or it's a mall, whatever. We are adding these things. But the time will come when we have inclusive society right from the day one, and everything will be there, and intervention will be part of that.
Okay, ma'am.
Society.
Do you think are there any barriers also due to which this the whole process of early intervention is hampered sometimes?
Yeah, let us talk. You asked me a wonderful question. Why? Current status. I mean, if there's something missing, then we can discuss about
Yeah,
that.
sure.
Barriers in the sense, ignorance is the first thing. Lack of recognition of the problem. As I just said, we don't even know that we are having a problem. And that is why we don't go to the early intervention centers. And with the result, the problem becomes much more complicated. So ignorance is the main thing. So the time of the need of the hour is that spread awareness. We should become aware. Let us not be ignorant anymore. We should know what is wrong, what is right from the day one. So ignorance is the one thing, especially in our country, in villages and in non. Urban slums and non-urban areas. Do not wish to disclose because of the social stigma. Another thing is, people don't like to disclose, especially this disability, because it is a social stigma still. We have not started accepting mental retardation as, part of us. We still feel it. It is a stigma. We still look down upon people with mental retardation, as I just said. But so that is another thing, which is hampering our process.
And I think it is
Yeah.
one of the most common factor prevailing in our society.
Exactly.
That parents, they really, they really don't want their kids to be disclosed in the society or maybe among their friend circle,
Yeah.
that their child has
Yeah,
some
there is a
difficulty.
reason, because the society makes mockery out of it. That's the reason. They are not accepted properly. That is why. Otherwise, they want them to be mingled with other. But once they are convinced that they will be treated the way others are, with the same respect and dignity as others are, then they will not. Then there will not be any hitch, because there is still a stigma. That is why these things are happening. Next, conflict in the family. Blame process starts. Early intervention क्यों नहीं हो पाती है? Because as soon as you come to know there's a child with mental retardation, the blame comes, and mostly it comes to the mother. It's because of you the child is like that, right?
Right.
And now she is taking care of that problem, because now she is under depression, she's having so many other problems, so she's taking care of, she's rather make herself fit, so she's bothered about that, and she is not utilizing that period for the intervention of her child. And so there's always a conflict. Should you go to a center for help or not? Whether something can be done with this child, whether he'll be improved by going to the center. All those conflicting statements are there, and which is very, very natural. So that is what is, they slow down the process of intervention. So by the time they are out of these things, it's too
It
late.
becomes too late.
Yeah.
Right.
So that's what happens. Then lack of acceptance, as I already said. Till you accept the child, whatever we do with the child, if it is not followed in the family, then that goes waste. We all know it. So lack of acceptance, lack of guidance. If some people accept, but then they are not guided. I mean, they are not convinced, I would say, that these interventions will help the child to great extent. So then what is our role? We have to show them the role models who have been intervened at early, at the earliest stage, and how benefited they were and what they are now. So we have to, show them the role models and give them the stories of the success stories, and then they will be motivated for early intervention.
But ma'am, do you think that on the contrary of this lack of guidance, too much of guidance also confuses parents at times?
Too much of guidance.
I mean, some professional is saying something and the other professional is saying something.
Okay.
I've seen that from my experience, that parents, they become really indecisive at times, because they really don't know that what is the best for my child. So I would like to add on that, besides lack of guidance, excess of guidance also,
Well, I wouldn't say excess of guidance. I would say that different kind
opinions
of
maybe from
yeah,
different professionals.
yeah. But the problem is with the problem is not with the parents here. We as professionals should be very, very careful when we start intervening. We have to be, all of us, all the professionals, because all the professionals are required for the habilitation process of this particular child, for the intervention. So we all have to have one, we all have to kind of agreeable to the goals we have decided for this particular child, and we all have to work in the same direction. That the consensus have to be. Otherwise, parents will get confused. If I say something, another professional is saying something else. So it is not the under guidance or over guidance. It is a correct guidance.
Okay.
Yeah. And the next is pillar to post, one doctor to another. When the parents are not convinced, when parents are confused, they go from post to pillar, from one person to another person, whether it is a rehabilitation professional or it is a doctor. And that hampers the intervention.
Because I think again the time is wasted.
Going
Time
from
is
one doctor
wasted.
to another, and some doctors say wait another, if some doctors, I'm saying, when they are not, it happens. Parents do come to us and they say we were told by a doctor, because the doctor himself was not aware. We
Right,
still have
right.
doctors in remote areas which don't give proper guidance at the right time. Sorry to say that, but it happens, and because of which they go from post to pillar. Okay, then going to mantravadis and looking for shortcuts. As we said, people are looking for shortcuts. I wish if somebody tells me, no, if you go there and you get something from that particular person, that particular mantravadis or that particular sadhu, and the child will be all right. Obviously, we are human beings and we get into that trap.
Right.
We
right,
get duped.
right.
If my child will get all right, why shouldn't I get it done? There's no harm in getting done. So we go there even when we know that nothing will be there. It can't.
I think sometimes superstitions also plays a major role.
Major
over
role, yeah.
us.
Superstitions, or I would say, when you are in pain, you accept any kind of remedy without thinking.
I think we want to just try out every possible way,
Exactly.
with the hope that child might get fine. And
Yeah.
in
So
some
kind
time.
of that time we are just thinking, only heart is there. The brain is not there. I would
Right,
say we
right.
always have to think. Then inability to avail services because of economic or demographic reason. That's another reason. Why intervention services are not reaching to our clients, or they are not benefiting our services, because sometimes it is they can't, wherever they are staying, their intervention services are not in their reach, or another reason could be economic, like they can't afford, they can't go to the places after spending so much of money and then going there every day. So economic reasons are also there. So these are some of the barriers in getting the early intervention services.
ओके, अर्ली इंटरवेंशन सर्विसेज के बारे में इससे पहले कि मैम हम आगे बात करें, यहाँ पे लेते हैं हम एक छोटा सा ब्रेक और वापस आएंगे इस ब्रेक के बाद.
ऑटिज्म एक व्यापक विकासात्मक विकलांगता है जिसके लक्षण जीवन के प्रथम 3 वर्ष में ही दिखाई पड़ते हैं, जैसे असंगत खेल, असमान स्थूल एवं सूक्ष्म गामक क्रियाएं, शाब्दिक संकेतों पर अभिव्यक्ति न देना,
Where is the cup? देखो, open your eyes, open करो, open करके, open.
नियमित कार्यक्रम परिवर्तन का विरोध करना एवं अवलोकनीय शारीरिक उच्च स्तरीय या निम्न स्तरीय क्रियाकलाप. UNCRPD 2007 सेक्शन 1 ऑफ आर्टिकल 4 निशक्तता के क्षेत्र में कार्यरत प्रोफेशनल के प्रशिक्षण पर महत्व देता है. ऑटिज्म के क्षेत्र में सरकारी एवं गैर सरकारी संस्थाएं कार्यरत हैं. जो भारतीय पुनर्वास परिषद द्वारा पंजीकृत हैं। सोसाइटी फॉर एडवांस स्टडी इन रिहैबिलिटेशन एक ऐसी ही गैर सरकारी संस्था है। कनिष्क 13 साल का एक ऑटिस्टिक बच्चा है जो इसी संस्था से प्रशिक्षण प्राप्त कर रहा है। असंगत क्रियाएं, कार्यकलापों में निरस्ता, असमान स्थूल एवं सूक्ष्म गामक क्रियाएं जैसे बॉडी रॉकिंग और फिंगर रिगलिंग उसमें देखी जा सकती है। उसे मैचिंग और पेस्टिंग, पॉइंटिंग जैसी क्रियाएं सिखाई जाती हैं।
वेरी गुड। ग्लास, वेयर इज द ग्लास? ग्लास, वेरी। कप को टच करो जल्दी से, कप को। वेयर इज द कप? वेरी गुड। कप में क्या करता है कनिष्क? टी पीता है। चलो ग्लास, वेयर इज द ग्लास? वेरी गुड। चलो बाउल की तरह, बाउल बाउल जल्दी से टच करो बाउल को। वेरी गुड। बाउल में क्या करता है कनिष्क?
तथा साथ ही साथ रोजमर्रा की आवश्यकताएं जैसे खाना, पीना, कपड़े पहनना, और व्यायाम संबंधी प्रशिक्षण दिया जाता है। ऑटिस्टिक बच्चों को भिन्न भिन्न प्रकार की कार्यविधियां उनके स्तर के अनुसार सिखाई जाती हैं। जैसे कुछ बच्चों के लिए कलरिंग विद इन वन एरिया, मैचिंग एंड आइडेंटिफिकेशन, फाइन मोटर स्किल्स, आई हैंड कोऑर्डिनेशन, concept of vegetables, fruits, body parts, कलर्स पर जोर दिया जाता है तथा कुछ को प्रश्न पढ़ के उत्तर देने में और रोजमर्रा की आवश्यकताओं को पूरा करने में सक्षम बनाया जाता है। इसके अलावा राइम्स, डांसिंग, सिंगिंग द्वारा लेजर एंड रिक्रिएशनल एक्टिविटीज में भाग लेने के लिए प्रोत्साहित किया जाता है। इन सभी कार्यकलापों एवं प्रशिक्षण का एकमात्र उद्देश्य उन्हें स्वनिर्भर बनाना है ताकि ये डगमगाते पांव सक्षम बन जीवन के एक एक पायदान पर दृढ़ता से आगे बढ़ें और अपनी मंजिल को पा लें। एक तारा टिमटिमाता, उसने आकाश को छू लिया। एक लौ जली कहीं, उसने अंधकार को मिटा दिया।
हम होंगे कामयाब, हम होंगे कामयाब, हम होंगे कामयाब एक दिन। ओ मन में है विश्वास, पूरा है विश्वास, हम होंगे कामयाब एक दिन। We shall overcome, we shall overcome, we shall overcome someday. Oh, deep in my heart, I do believe that we shall overcome someday. We shall overcome someday. We shall overcome someday.
वेलकम बैक आफ्टर द ब्रेक। मैं एक बार फिर हमारे दर्शकों को यहाँ पे याद दिला दूँ कि आप हमारे एक्सपर्ट से प्रश्न पूछ सकते हैं आज के इस टॉपिक से रिलेटेड, और आप कॉल कर सकते हैं उसके लिए हमारे टोल फ्री नंबर पे विच इज़ 1-800-11-200-8. आवर लैंडलाइन नंबर इज़ 265-11613 एंड आवर फैक्स नंबर इज़ 265-11609. सो ब्रेक पे जाने से पहले हम बात कर रहे थे मैम कि व्हाट आर द बैरियर्स यू नो दैट मे हैम्पर द अर्ली इंटरवेंशन प्रोसेस. सो वुड यू लाइक टू ऐड ऑन समथिंग टू इट?
वेल, हमने सारी बातें डिस्कस कर ली. बेसिकली यही है कि लोगों को ये मान के चलना है, पेरेंट्स को स्पेशली, कि जितनी जल्दी वो इस प्रॉब्लम की इंटरवेंशन करवाएंगे उतना जल्दी ही बच्चे को फायदा होगा. राइट. तो ये हमने जो बहुत सारी बातें कही कि ये सुपरस्टिशियस, जैसे आपने कहा इधर जाना उधर जाना, वो सब ना करके एक प्रॉपर जो कि हमने बताया सेंटर पे जाना जहाँ पे कि बच्चे को सर्विसेज मिल सके, वो उनका फर्ज है. तो इनको सबको ध्यान में रखते हुए लेट अस सी व्हाट इज आवर ड्यूटी. आई पुट इट ऑन द स्क्रीन फॉर आवर स्टूडेंट्स टू सी. सो व्हाट इज आवर रिस्पॉन्सिबिलिटी? आवर रिस्पॉन्सिबिलिटी इज टूफोल्ड. First is to provide more adequate medical and general health care for the mother and baby prior to, during and after pregnancy, particularly for the socially disadvantaged and other high risk groups. तो हम ये कहना चाह रहे हैं कि पहली जो मैंने क्यों ये टॉपिक आज लिया, अभी खत्म नहीं हुआ है, अर्ली इंटरवेंशन फॉर द स्किल्स, वो हम अगली टेलीकॉन्फ्रेंस में लेंगे. पर आज हम ये बताना चाह रहे थे कि जब बच्चा when the mother when
the mother conceives, उसको क्या क्या चीजें ऐसी ध्यान में रखनी चाहिए कि जिसकी वजह से she should have मतलब जिनको ध्यान में रखते हुए she should have a healthy baby. ये बहुत ही जरूरी है. कहने का मतलब ये कि हम पहले वेट ना करें कि बच्चा हैंडीकैप हो और फिर हम उसकी इंटरवेंशन शुरू करें. तो मैं ये इस पे एम्फेसाइज करना चाह रही थी. और दूसरी बात मैं ये कह रही थी कि हमारी जो मेडिकल एंड जनरल हेल्थ है उसको इस बात का ध्यान रखना चाहिए कि आवर मदर्स आर इन गुड हेल्थ व्हेन दे आर about to give birth to a child. That means before the birth of the child, during the birth of the child, and even after the child is born. So we should be able to provide good medical health services to avoid these problems which can lead to mental retardation in children. तो एक बात तो हमने ये कही है. Second is, as you can see on the screen, providing opportunities for stimulation and motivation for optimum development and learning of the child. दूसरा हमने ये कहा कि ये सब बातें तो हमें ध्यान में रखनी है. इसके अलावा हमको अपॉर्चुनिटीज देनी है बच्चों को जहाँ पे कि हम बच्चों को अर्ली स्टिमुलेशन दे सके. जैसा कि मैंने बताया कि पोटेज के थ्रू इट इज फॉर अर्ली स्टिमुलेशन ओनली. इट इज फॉर अर्ली स्टिमुलेशन. और इसका फायदा ये है कि हमने वो एक्टिविटीज भी इसमें दी हुई हैं जिसके जरिए आप बच्चे को अर्ली स्टिमुलेट कर सकते हो. किसी भी जो भी उसमें कमियां हैं उसमें, चाहे वो सोशल स्टिमुलेशन हो, चाहे वो एकेडमिक स्टिमुलेशन हो, और चाहे वो मोटर स्टिमुलेशन, चाहे वो कॉग्निटिव स्टिमुलेशन, कोई भी स्टिमुलेशन है उसमें पूरी एक्टिविटीज दी हैं. 5 एरियाज दिए हुए हैं और बताया गया है कि कैसे उसको बच्चे को हमने स्टिमुलेट करना है. एक्टिविटीज भी दी हैं. तो इसकी चर्चा हम अगली कॉन्फ्रेंस में करेंगे कि हाउ एग्जैक्टली टू टेक अ स्किल एंड हाउ टू इंटरवेन यूजिंग पोटेज. या तो वो मे बी नेक्स्ट उसमें होगा. बट नाउ टुडे वी वांटेड टू फोकस ऑन द व्हाई अर्ली इंटरवेंशन इज इम्पॉर्टेंट. अर्ली इज नॉट व्हेन द चाइल्ड इज बोर्न. अर्ली इज at the time when the mother has come to know that she has conceived a child. From there it starts. अब तक मैम हमने मोटिवेशन की बहुत बात की कि उस लेवल पे बच्चे का मोटिवेशन बहुत हाई होता है एंड ग्रोथ एंड डेवलपमेंट भी ज़्यादा होता है. अगर हम प्रोफेशनल्स के मोटिवेशन की बात करें हु आर इन्वॉल्व्ड इन द प्रोसेस ऑफ दिस अर्ली इंटरवेंशन, देन व्हाट रोल डू देयर मोटिवेशन प्ले इन दैट?
They are very well motivated if the child is reached to them at a right age. Especially, I mean, I can talk about my experiences when the child comes to me at when he's small, as soon as the problem was discovered. Our program, we feel very motivated to plan a program for him, to execute the program to him and then evaluate, because as we said, the child progresses very fast and you can see the result over a period of time. But when the child comes later, at a later stage when he's in school, and then we feel, oh, what, nothing much can be done. We do provide intervention, we do plan a program, we implement the program, but we see for ourselves that when we are implementing this program which we planned for the for the lacuna, the skill, lacuna of the skill the child is having at that time.
Yeah.
Now, by the time we are providing intervention for those skills, the child has grown, and then he required much more during those 2 periods. So what I'm saying, we reaching that, there's a too much of gap. When we started the program, the child was like lacking few things, and we planned a program for that. Now, as we were implementing that program, the child became 2 years older. So now he requires many more skills. So we have to plan for that also. So you know what I'm saying. So we have to look for those skills also. We have to look for
So
those
it's all
skills also.
interconnected.
Yeah. So the gap becomes too much. So as the child becomes old and he comes later, we have to bridge the gap, which is much more.
Absolutely.
So it's easier for us to bridge the gap when he comes to us at an early age. So we are very well motivated. We are motivated even at a later stage also. But when we don't see the results happening, so that's what I'm saying. We feel happy when the child comes early because we can see the progress. But when he comes at a later stage, the progress is there, but not at that level.
ओके जब मैम आपने हमें बताया कि once a child is detected with certain problems, so he should be taken to a child guidance center or maybe to the special schools, integrated setup.
Any service providing center where they are dealing with the early intervention service.
So in this framework, are national institutes also playing a major role in our country?
Yes. Early detection and intervention is our major objective, and we do that.
Okay.
That's part of it, yes.
All right. So in the end, would you like to give any message to our viewers?
Well, this is, as I just said in the beginning, that prevention, early detection and intervention is very, very important for all of us. Not only because we feel it, also because all the policies, as I just said, our PWD Act and also the national policy for the person with disability emphasize too much on this prevention and early detection and intervention. So early detection and intervention is very, very important, as if it is done at the right time by the right person, I think we can achieve maximum in the life of a person with mental retardation.
So in a nutshell, agar hum kahein, so we'll say that the process earlier the better, and I'll again emphasize that the process of this early intervention starts right from the point of the conception of the mother, and then gradually everything has to be observed. There are certain precautions that needs to be taken care of so that a child is born without any disability, and a healthy child in fact is born.
Exactly.
Then we need to once a child is born, so we need to emphasize on the different milestones that are divided into different stages, as our expert told us. And even if after these precautions, if a child is born with a certain disability, specifically with a mental retardation, then as early as possible he should be taken to some rehabilitation center or maybe the service center where the procedure of this early identification is started using different assessment tools like ma'am mentioned, portage and RM, which is recently invented by National Institute for Mentally Handicapped, and how the early intervention process will gradually start by the different professionals, as we call it, a whole team of work. Yeah, and at the end, I'll only say that we really need to be positive, whether it's the parents of the child, other family members, as a professionals, themselves, and even the whole society. So thank you so much, ma'am, for coming here and sharing your views on the early intervention for a person with mental retardation. So we'll wind up our session here today, and we'll be back next time with a new discussion and a new expert. So till then, thank you and goodbye.
Thank you.